Morning, everyone. It is wonderful to be here at Little Scholars Childcare Center in Chelsea. I want to say thank you, first and foremost, to our incredible hosts and to the educators and staff who make this such a warm, creative, and nurturing space for the youngest New Yorkers. And when I walked in to your office, I saw a Post-it note from a family of one of the children just welcoming one of your staff back, because that's what so many people mean to the families of this city. You are the people who make it possible to raise families in this city. And walking through these classrooms, you really get a sense of what high-quality childcare means in practice. A place where children are safe, supported, where they're learning, and where they are loved. But for too many families in our city, this kind of care is simply out of reach. Today in New York City, more than 80% of families with children under the age of 5, more than 80% cannot afford childcare. A family earning the median income can expect to spend nearly half of their take-home pay just to cover childcare costs. So what choices does that leave? Too often, the choice that a family takes is that they cannot live here any longer. What we've seen is that households with young children are twice as likely to move out of the city than those without. What we've seen is that the cost to this city is not just a civic cost, a moral cost, a political cost, but also an economic cost. Where in 2022 alone, our city lost an estimated $23 billion in economic activity because parents had to leave jobs or reduce their hours to care for their children. What we want is that these no longer be the options that families have to choose from. What we want is a city with growing families, a city with fully enrolled schools, a city where neighborhoods are alive with the energy, the laughter, and the possibility of children. Earlier this morning, I met with business leaders to talk about how the public and private sectors can work together to make that city real. And I made the case that universal childcare does not just make moral sense, it also makes economic sense. And we only need to look at Quebec as an example. For when they implemented universal childcare, they saw a 10-to-1 return on their investment. The program more than paid for itself. These are programs that not only strengthen our workforce, they not only help employers recruit new talent, they help them retain the talent they already have. And they give parents the confidence that they can build their lives and their futures right here in New York City. This would put money back in the pockets of families to spend in their local communities. And I know that Governor Hochul is committed to this vision. I know that many leaders in the business community are just as committed. And as mayor, I cannot wait to work together to make universal childcare a reality for every single family in this city. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any and all questions.
Awesome. We'll start with some on topics on childcare and the business roundtable. Yeah, Laura.
For your meeting this morning, did it go well? And any luck drumming up support from the business leaders you met with for either your proposed corporate tax increase of any size or any alternative funding sources they are interested in or open to?
The meeting went very well, and it was a productive meeting that focused on the fact that where the city and the state has not provided affordable childcare, oftentimes companies have had to step up themselves. And we had a wide-ranging conversation about the changes that need to take place so that we can actually implement a system where childcare is a reality as opposed to something that people can be priced out of, and how that applies not only to a regulatory framework, but also the importance of an infrastructure that can provide childcare in a wide variety of settings, including not only at centers, but also at a home-based setting as well. And what I appreciated about this meeting and these business leaders is that they are committed to taking on this issue and committed to taking it on because of the imperative of a moral level, of an economic level, of a political level. And finally, we've spoken often about the ability to attract new talent on the basis of whether you can afford childcare, on how we lose people in our own city because of the lack of affordable childcare. What I really appreciated about this meeting was a number of business leaders highlighting how when they invested in childcare in their own companies, they saw significant changes in their ability to retain the talent that they already have because it actually allowed those employees to build their families while working at those jobs.
But what about the taxes? Did you talk about your proposed corporate tax hike? Are they open to it or open to a corporate tax hike of any size? I know Governor Hochul has floated the possibility of a smaller one than the 2 percentage point one or 4 percentage point one you proposed. Was that talked about at all? Are they into it?
I am always transparent about the proposals that I put forward on how to fund not only universal childcare but our affordability agenda, and it includes raising the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey. That's a conversation that continues, and it's one that I believe presents the most obvious way to fund initiatives such as this. And the most important thing, however, is that we do fund initiatives such as this.
Yeah,
Mr.
Melissa.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Sorry, just right here real quick.
Aside from supporting your plan to raise taxes to pay for the universal child care, what else can business leaders do to help? And can you tell us a little bit about what kind of industries they work for? Are these people who have already provided child care on their own? Are you asking them to do that as well? Just like what else besides lobbying for the tax?
Absolutely. I think the key here is actually speaking with one voice about the necessity of childcare as infrastructure that we deliver to New Yorkers. And I appreciated Kathy Wild and Steve Fulop were there from the Partnership for the City of New York, as well as Neil Blumenthal, as well as Christy Carter and a number of other business leaders. And the conversation was one where the questions that I posed were around how business leaders have felt the challenges of childcare in their own workforce, what a successful model of childcare as infrastructure would look like in this city, and how we could be working together to deliver that. And what I appreciated is, in as much as there needs to be a focus on the importance of paying for universal childcare, there also has to be a focus on streamlining the process by which people get childcare today. And one business leader spoke to me about the fact that they have to go to 3 different city agencies to get the approval to start providing childcare, and that it's approval that can only be given sequentially. So if you do not get one, you cannot start the other process. And oftentimes the questions that are asked are duplicative. And this is similar to the conversation I had yesterday with real estate leaders on the importance of taking on the housing crisis, where one leader mentioned to me that they had to go to 4 to 6 different city agencies to fill a single tree pit. These are examples of the work that we must do in city government in making it easier to engage with city government while providing a comprehensive vision for delivering for New Yorkers. Very well.
Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor,
we'll go right here, Hannah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm wondering what's holding you up from announcing more members of your administration, and when can New Yorkers expect to hear more about that?
So building out our team is something that is of the utmost importance to me. It is something that has meant vetting the more than 70,000 applications that we've received, having interviews, and being intentional about not only the structure that we create for City Hall, but also the personnel that we put into that structure. And those are decisions that when we have any to announce, we will be sure to do so, but they are also ones that will be critical in fulfilling our agenda, and we will be sharing more as we have that in the weeks to come.
And one more question, what did you think about when Mayor Adams asked you about the ghost in Gracie Mansion? What was your initial reaction?
You know, I am willing to work with anyone and everyone to fulfill the affordability agenda. That also includes ghosts. And he did mention to me that he thinks one lives there.
All right, Jeff, right here.
I wanted to ask 2 questions, one serious, one silly. I'm wondering, is there...
If you can go one by one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any developments out of your transition committees in terms of making some of these proposals, actually making them solid, more formal, especially child care? Has anything developed out of that?
These committees we have 17 of them, and our co-chairs of our transition committee have been stewarding a number of these meetings. They are very much in progress. Some of them have commenced, some of them are still to. And I was actually just speaking with our co-chairs yesterday about the number of incredible suggestions that are coming out of those committee meetings. Sometimes they're recommendations on personnel, but sometimes, as you said, they're recommendations on policy changes that can be made. And that's something we're going to be cohering once we finish all of the committees to start to implement and integrate it into our plans for the first days of the administration.
Okay, you also
Yes, you had a second question.
To Gracie
Yes.
Mansion. I'm wondering, have you had a chance to take a look at your new neighborhood? Are there any restaurants, cultural institutions you're looking forward to? Because there's quite a difference between, where you're moving to and where you're moving from.
I haven't spent that much time in the new neighborhood, but I can tell you that some of my favorite memories in this city are also visiting the many museums that we have on Museum Mile, and I know that that's not too far from Gracie Mansion.
Mayoral,
Yeah, Dan,
Mayoral,
right here.
How's it going,
How
Dan?
many families do you think would take advantage of the free child care that do not do it now? And how many more institutions and facilities like the one we're in now would have to be created so parents are not waitlisted?
I think the key to your question is the fact that when we offer New Yorkers a seat, we also have to ensure that that's actually a seat that they can take. What I mean by that is there have been offers to families who live in Bed-Stuy for a 3K seat, and when they look at the details, that seat is in Astoria. There are many families who are not being given any kind of options that they can actually utilize because of what it would mean for themselves and for their children. And so the specifics of how many families, how many centers, that's exactly what we're hard at work at right now over the course of this transition. We want to ensure, however, that these are not just commitments that can be shared in a press release, but ones that New Yorkers can take advantage of.
Yeah.
Have this information. You're asking corporations to raise taxes to pay for this, income taxes as well. Do you have any sense of what it would take to actually make this a plan that works so nobody's waitlisted or nobody gets a seat out 5 miles from their home? How come you don't have this information?
Well, I'm not yet the mayor, but I am hard at work at preparing this. And what it looks like, frankly, is first assessing the failures of our current approach that we have. And I think that has to be the most urgent point of business, is reckoning with and then rectifying the issues that are in 3K here in New York City, and then starting to map out what it looks like to build that out so that we are providing childcare for children as young as 6 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Mayor, I have two
Yes.
questions. The first, I was just wondering
If we can just do one at a time. Thank you.
if you could revisit your views on mayoral control now that you are in the process of transition. Are you still in favor of ending it, or are you more interested in tweaking it? You know, where are you now on that?
I'm still in favor of creating a system that has more involvement for parents, for students, and teachers. I'm still just as critical as I've been, and frankly, it's a criticism that comes out of an exhaustion of having seen so many try to participate in a system of our public education only to see decisions being made without any of their input taken into account.
And then the second question,
Yes.
you know, there was a big entrance into the 10th congressional primary yesterday. Brad Lander, outgoing city controller, someone who endorsed you, you co-endorsed. Wondering if you could talk about that endorsement, but also if you could talk at all about some of the pushback that, you know, is appearing on social media from some folks within the Democratic Socialists of America who are upset about your backing him so initially.
You know, Brad is a friend, he's an ally, he's a partner, and I've appreciated the relationship that we've had over the time that we've been elected officials, and also the one that we built as we were running in this campaign for much of the last year. And he is someone who leads with sincerity, with knowledge, with fluency, and with empathy. And I think New Yorkers would stand to benefit if his leadership continued in our city, and that's why I was so excited to endorse him, and I will continue to work to support him so that he can continue to be a leader in the city.
Yeah, we'll go Jose right here, and then
I think that the endorsement speaks for itself.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mayoral, during the campaign you talk about the World Cup and the tickets. Today is the third round of sale with this thing.
Sorry,
and this pricing.
could you say?
The World Cup tickets?
Yes.
We're talking on the campaign.
Yes.
Today is the first day that is going to be this lottery with a dynamic pricing. And some tickets are 300, 400% more. What do you think about it? And are you going to attend to one of the games in the World Cup?
You know, I am just as concerned as I was when I first made those statements about the inability for New Yorkers to afford to attend the most watched sporting event in the world. You know, the group stage fixtures that we've seen are incredibly exciting. Brazil, Morocco, France, Senegal, Norway, just to name a few. And I've had New Yorkers approach me just as recently as yesterday and ask me, how am I supposed to afford a $600 ticket to watch Brazil play Morocco? And I don't have an answer to that, because that's at a price point where many in the city cannot even conceive of purchasing that ticket, and that's if they're lucky enough to do so. And the fact that you could enter into that website to procure that ticket and then have a different price by the time that you are leaving that website speaks to another issue with this. And so I will continue to make the case for tickets to be more affordable, and continue to make the case for this sporting event that we cannot wait for to be one that New Yorkers can also be more of a part of.
Yeah, we'll go Alex and then Timmy.
I hope to attend, but I haven't gotten any tickets yet.
Also have two questions.
Yes.
The first one is just, you know, one position that could be pretty important for the universal child care push is the school's chancellor. And so I'm curious if you have a timeline for announcing that role, and then I have a second one.
Yeah. That continues to be of immense importance to myself and to my team, is determining who will be the next school's chancellor. We are currently undergoing an interview process to that end.
And can you talk at all about kind of what your criteria are for the position? Like, what are you looking for?
We are looking for someone with a vision of delivering an excellent standard of public education to each and every student across the city, someone with a fluency of the challenges that we face in a system of public education where we are now in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 students being homeless, and a system where we see time and time again the need for a newfound vision at delivering a standard of excellence.
Yeah, right.
On the Goldman run, it's sort of rare for a sitting Democrat to endorse a challenger like Lander. Can you talk about that precedent that you're setting in being the mayor of New York, one of the most prominent Democrats in the country, and sort of throwing your weight behind challengers that you see are the right candidates?
Yeah, I'm proud to endorse Brad, and I think that Brad has shown time and time again that he is a leader in this city, someone who has fought and will continue to fight for decency and for dignity. And what I've so appreciated about Brad is that he exemplifies a different kind of politics than the one that we have become accustomed to. And I loved, as we all saw his launch video, it is a callback to the days of Mr. Rogers, and it feels like that is the furthest things from so much of our politics today, and something we so desperately need.
Yeah, right. And then
Mr. Mamdani, last week you told me on funding this agenda that you would be open to other means of funding from the Assembly should you not be able to raise the taxes from the governor's approval. So will you be pulling funding from other government agencies or even from other already existing programs to make sure that this affordability agenda sees the light of day?
I don't think we need to entertain the possibility of cuts in order to fund an agenda like this. What I've spoken about is an openness to different revenue streams beyond the two that I've proposed, while continuing to believe that those are the two that make the most sense.
yeah, Kate.
This is a question about NYCHA. So my colleagues found that more than 14,000 housing code violations were in buildings under the RAD program to privatize NYCHA. NYCHA doesn't monitor these, NYCHA doesn't track these violations and has not monitored hundreds of cases where HPD has to hire a vendor to do the work. What's your take on what should be done about these thousands of violations in RAD buildings, and have you interviewed any candidates for NYCHA CEO, including the current CEO, Lisa Boba-Hyatt?
A housing code violation should be of immense concern to all of us, no matter where it takes place. And I am proud to have been representing a number of NYCHA developments, including the largest public housing development in North America, in Queensbridge Houses. And it is incumbent upon us to start to actually deliver for public housing tenants across this city. And that will be a focus of the work that my administration will do. And right now, what we are spending our time and building out our team is first and foremost on the question of deputy mayors, and then looking beyond that.
Would you have NYCHA monitor them? How would you fix what's happening now?
I think there are many different things that have to be done. I think the first and foremost is an interest and a focus coming out of City Hall. We have structures, we have personnel, but oftentimes it seems as if we're just pushing things along as opposed to taking on the enormity of the crisis.
All right, Craig, right here, got one question.
Thank you. Also on the congressional races, you're endorsing Brad Lander over the DSA candidate in the race. In Hakeem Jeffrey's primary, you discouraged the DSA from endorsing at all. The DSA took a chance on you when you were polling at basically 0. Do you feel like you're betraying the organization a little bit? And can you speak to the strategy there in going against the group that was your political home?
It continues to be my political home. I continue to be proud to be a member, like thousands of other New Yorkers, of New York City DSA. And I have always spoken about my belonging to New York City DSA began because of the focus on transforming the lives of working class New Yorkers and their ability to afford to live in this city. And I'm so excited at the work that we will continue to do together alongside a large coalition to deliver on that agenda.
Why don't you want
thank you
DSA
guys.
candidates to run
Can I get a quick follow-up
in
on
congressional
this?
primaries?
Sorry, can you say
Why
that?
don't you want the DSA candidates to run in those primaries?
That's not something that I have said. I have weighed in specifically in endorsing Brad Lander, who is the candidate that is challenging the incumbent in that race.
All right, thank you.
Mayoral.
We got to run.
Okay.
We really got to run.
We'll do one last one.
Real
Yeah.
quick, to follow on your possible school's chancellor choice, will that person take a lead role in implementing the rolling out of universal child care in the city?
They will have a key role to play. I think it will both necessitate the interest and the focus of a chancellor, but frankly, it will also require a whole of government approach. And we've seen what it takes to implement something of this nature when we look back at universal pre-K. Thank you all so much.